But also, this is end of empire. And it's kind of tough to keep the lid on a lot of these things.
No, explain that. What do you mean? What do you mean when you say that?
So the American empire is coming to an end. I can't fault those guys for making a calculation to protect their family and themselves. And it is very easy for them to get threatened. It's as simple as a guy pulling you aside and say, we'll kill your entire family.
If anybody believes that, I feel bad for you. Welcome to Geisinger Unfiltered. Thank you for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and all that stuff down there, please. But we're not going to delay. We're going to jump right into this because author, researcher, and fearless truth seeker Charlie Robinson joins us today on Geisinger Unfiltered. In his explosive work, The Octopus of Global Control, he dives headfirst into the hidden architecture of power and the stranglehold it has on our world, exposing its 8 powerful tentacles from media and finance to government, science, the covert state, and more, blending serious research with dark humor. Robinson makes one thing clear. Once you see the octopus, you can't unsee it. Welcome, Charlie, to Geisinger Unfiltered.
Thanks for having me. Is everybody seeing the octopus these days? Because when I wrote that in 2017, I was a tinfoil hat-wearing lunatic. And now, all of a sudden, people are like, what is that octopus that you were talking about back then? It seems to maybe be making a little bit more sense. I didn't mean for it to. I didn't mean for it to be self-evident, but I figured some people might figure it out. But
It is now. We're going to dive into all that in a second. I just want to tell people where they can get to you, which is macroaggressions.io is the website link. So that has links to all of Charlie's shows that he does. Macroaggressions, Union of the Unwanted, and Day Zero. And his YouTube is Macroaggressions with Charlie Robinson, which is getting back up to speed, as he told me a minute ago when we were off air. But get his book. Get his book. If you can open up a pop-up window right now, side window, The Octopus of Global Control on Amazon. Get that there. But honestly, Charlie, thanks for coming on. There's a lot of good baldness on the show today.
Yeah.
And headlines. There's no shortage of places to start, like war in Iran, Trump's predictable aliens distraction, the disgusting Epstein files with still no arrests. They don't represent the people now. Maybe they never did. Where do you want to start first, man?
Let's start with Epstein. I'm glad that people are talking about him. I'm glad that the average TMZ watcher now knows that there is something known as
Wrong.
a Jeffrey Epstein, right? That there's a sexual blackmail entrapment operations that are used to ensnare powerful people. I'm glad that people are aware of that as a concept. But if you only stop there, if you only get caught up in the island and what he was doing, you're missing a bigger picture. There's so much more. This is the conspiracy Epstein onion. That every layer has a little bit more, a little bit darker, and for people that think that he's just this, deviant scumbag who's luring high school girls to give him massages. Yeah, of course, he was doing all of that. But the stuff that he was getting into in New Mexico with Zorro Ranch, the fact that he bought Southern Air Transport, which used to be the CIA's private air force, their Air America, that they used to run drugs in and out of war-torn regions like Afghanistan or the Golden Triangle, Southeast Asia. Jeffrey Epstein and his partner, Les Wexner, bought that airline and moved it from Miami to Ohio because they wanted to bring in, I don't know, rubber dog shit from Hong Kong or something. I don't know. But Victoria's Secret lingerie that was being made in the Far East, right? So people get caught up in some of the more, I don't know, glamorous is the wrong word to use, but more of the salacious stuff that was going on in the island. And they miss the stuff that's happening at Harvard with Martin Nowak and evolutionary dynamics and population game theory. And what was he doing with these edge dinners where he's inviting all these tech billionaires to have dinner with him and talk about the future? And so I think that so on the one hand, we're kind of joking that, people are starting to see the octopus. They're starting to wake up to this. I'm glad, but if you only stop with the stuff that's in the headlines right now, you'll miss so much more. And that's really the good stuff that's happening.
Charlie, why did we get them at all? I mean, if they wanted total control, it seems like the stuff that's out now has given you, me, and people like us a lot to talk about. It almost seems like it's their Achilles heel a little bit. Like they seem untoppable, but this kind of stuff that came out in the Epstein files is so disgusting. The cannibalism, the murder, the trafficking, and all that kind of stuff. At least gives us an edge to keep prying at them to try to get the Octopus of Control exposed. Now, why did we get those? Why didn't they just stall and never let us see anything?
I have the same questions, and it almost I mean, for guys like us that have been doing this, you feel like you're walking into a trap, maybe.
Wow.
Like, hey, why are we allowed to talk? I mean, I know this is happening, and this is happening, and we've been screaming from the rooftops, but why is it allowed to be spoken about now? That is a really good question, and that is really what I have been wondering. Is it to get everybody out in the open, on the record, on camera, on transcripts, on on your podcast, on my podcast, in my books, you're on the record as noticing what's going on. Now, we noticed that you noticed, and so there's that component to it, but also this is end of empire. And it's kind of tough to keep the lid on a lot of these things.
No, explain that. What do you mean? What do you mean when you say that?
So the American empire is coming to an end.
Yes.
I wrote a book with Jeff Berwick called The Controlled Demolition of the American Empire. We put that out in 2020. And we made the comparison with how you would take down a building, like a 47-story high-rise in Manhattan, that you would identify the support columns, you would pre-weaken the building, you would rig the detonators, you would sound the alarm, you would push down the plunger, you would clear the debris, right? That's how you take down a building in a controlled demolition. But there's also, we made the comparison to how you would take down the American empire. Now, it's not to say that America goes away. It's just the empire. It's much in the same way that the Soviet Union falls apart but leaves Mother Russia, right? All the satellite nations sort of go back to being their own thing. And that's the direction that the American empire is heading. 1,000 military bases around the world, unsustainable. Yeah. Dollar is the world's reserve currency, petrodollar arrangement, it's falling apart, right? This is the end of the American empire. And when you get to a point like that, all of the papering over of the lies become tougher to keep track of. It's the dikes, the fingers in the dikes with everything is, at some point, there's not enough fingers. You can only paper short the silver market for so long. Apparently you can only do it for 50 years, which is a lot longer than I thought you'd be able to do it, but you can do that. At some point that gets exposed and people realize, hey, they've been rigging the precious metals market for like ever. And now they're not, now they're having a hard time doing it. Oh, looks like Jane Street was rigging the Bitcoin price by shorting it every day at 10 o'clock, every Friday at 10 o'clock and paper shorting the silver market and in the COMEX. And you go, all these scams that are happening, you can keep them going when the machine is humming along and everything is working fine. But when you have multiple wars going on, when you have $1 trillion military budget and you have a money printer that's got to the point where everybody recognizes it's unsustainable, sometimes you just can't keep a lid on all the darkness and it comes out. So I wonder if, and I'm still trying to make this calculation, how much of this Epstein release is that they just can't keep a lid on the darkness, and how much of it is a controlled burn, a limited hangout, to Epstein isn't needed anymore, whether he's alive and living on an island somewhere or not. An Epstein-esque guy became obsolete in an era of Palantir. So, that whole concept of the guy that needs to get you to the island to get the goods on you and a hidden camera that's in the closet, when they know what you're doing in your phone and your computer and your bank accounts and everything, and they've got you, so it's changed a bit. And so I it's in the era of end of empire, people take a look and these skeletons come out of the closet and they see them.
Tell us about what were the if you know that this is the end of the empire, and I'm resonating with everything you just spoke of, what would be the next steps for them to do? Because in my notes here, I just basically have false flag coming. Either a big domestic bomb goes off and they're going to blame Iran to do, or Russia, or cyber attacks that take down our net and or the financial system, so that they could take the ancient, as Trump said, the ancient financial system out of the way and give us CBDCs and universal basic income. I mean, what is the next step? I mean, false flag incoming, get rid of the internet so you and me don't have a platform anymore, and then what?
Yeah, all those are on the table for sure. I think the banking is the one though, and I can envision a scenario. I can see a path towards a banking collapse that isn't even engineered. It just happens naturally. That would be Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse sitting on bazillions of dollars of derivative trades, even though those banks are insolvent. They're zombie banks. All it takes is one of those banks to go down and become, if you and I have a bet on the Super Bowl, right? And you win your bet against me, but I don't have $100 in my pocket. I made a bet with it. I didn't have any money. Did you really win? I mean, you won the bet, but you can't collect, right? So we both lost. Like, I didn't have the money. You won, but you couldn't collect. That's what it's going to be like when somebody's on the wrong end of a derivatives trade with Credit Suisse or Deutsche Bank, and they go, up, time to pay up. And they go, we really don't have the money or any money. we're insolvent. We're just accounting tricks away from having to declare that we're insolvent. Nobody really, I guess people in the banking industry know that. So if one of those banks goes down and they have $200 billion of derivative trades on their books, which is possible because there are $2 quadrillion of derivative trades out there, which are bets on bets, right? It's like, I got a bet on the bond on this bond market. It's like playing blackjack, where the guy is sitting at the table playing blackjack against the house, and then everybody who's watching them is betting on with each other about whether or not this guy's going to lose, and that's derivative trades, right? So it's bets on other people's bets. And if you have one party, one bank that can't perform, it takes them all down because they all have bets with each other. Right now, your problem, it's not your fault, but it becomes your problem, right? You may be Bank of America, and you're like, we're actually pretty good. But now we're not, because we had derivative trades with Credit Suisse, and they're out of business. So now we have to acknowledge these losses. And I'll say this. So that's the banks doing bank stuff, right? And that could be a big problem. But here's where it gets personal for the individual. The G7 signed bank bail-in legislation. And what this does is it makes it legal for the banks inside the G7, which are most of the Western nations, to take the money from your bank account if that bank is not solvent. Meaning, it's not your money. Now, the thing is, it's never really been your money. When you open the bank account, you're actually in third position behind the shareholders, the bondholders, and then you. And most people say, yeah, that's maybe not great, but the FDIC will make me whole up to $250,000, which is true, for sure. If the small regional bank where you're doing business, it gets hit by a bomb and all your money goes away, they'll make you whole. If there's a systemic banking collapse, the FDIC has 1.6% of all deposits on hand, meaning you'll get 1.6 cents on the dollar. But the FDIC has all that money invested in bonds that are upside down. So the FDIC is insolvent, okay? Nobody knows that, but they are. So they have legalized stealing your money from your bank account. The banks, the bank account that you had, you were already in third position and didn't really own your bank account. They could take your money. It's just, it would be bad optics. But now they have taken the extraordinary step of legalizing bank bail-ins. Bailout is when the government comes in and helps out the bank. Bail-in is when the bank helps itself to your money. And they legalized it. And I am of the belief that they would not legalize it unless they intended to use it.
Yes, and I'm tracking with you, and it kind of seems like to me these data centers that they're going up at, in every state right now, billions and billions of dollars into these huge data centers is just supposedly for AI, right? But isn't it going to be to usher in this next system of control, the CBDCs, and you know exactly what Charlie's doing with all of his money, all of his time, all of my time, and then so it's you said it could happen by accident. They don't even have to foment this banking collapse, but isn't that just in part of the cards? Like, how are we going to get average Joe American to give up his cash and his? Well, wait. If we blame it on the Russians on some cyber attack, it's all going down. And now, the data centers are there to kind of help regulate everything and monitor everything. And you're going to get $250,000 of credits in this new system, and your debts are forgiven. And the really, really rich people are going to have squirreled their money away some way anyway. There'll be a caveat for them to have kept it all. So it's basically for the middle class and down. Hey, join this new system, and all you have to do is A, B, and C, and you can have credits in the system. You can have, and it's going to be so appealing. Who's going to refuse it? I mean, isn't that what they're going to do? But where is that compared to war? More war? Are they going to wait for that happen, then have this come out of it? The phoenix rising from the ashes type thing. So talk about that, these massive data centers, the system of control, and getting people to say, yeah, I'll take, who needs cash when you give me debt freedom and a bunch of credits?
We're building the digital prison around us to thunderous applause and unlimited money for these data centers. Yeah. So I envision a scenario in which there's a huge banking collapse, a cyber attack, right? Blamed on the Russians or the Iranians. And then, it's a Friday. Something happened. Saturday, Sunday, we're working on it. Monday, everything will open, but it doesn't open. Tuesday, okay, well, we made an announcement that, look, all your money's gone, but we found a solution. What we're going to do is we took a snapshot of the last second of these accounts, how much you had. We're going to make you whole again, but it's going to look a little different. It's going to be a Bank of America stable coin, or it's going to be a Wells Fargo coin. You can trade it in for something, for a USDT, a digital tether, or something like that. But it's going to be, we're here. There was a big problem with the banking system caused by them, the outsiders, certainly not the banks. Those bad guys, insert them, whoever, China, Russia, Iran, the axis of evil, or hackers, or anarchists, or white nationalists, or whoever, you know what I mean? Whoever they decide, the boogeyman du jour is the one who did it. And then they are going to be so nice to help fix the situation first it'll be maybe a carrot. Hey, we're going to make you whole on your account, but it'll be digital now. Or maybe it's some form of incentive structure where it's like, we'll give you 2 for 1 now, 2 digital dollars for every 1 Federal Reserve note that you trade in. But limited time offer, in 90 days, it'll go down to 1 for 1. Maybe a year from now, we'll give you 25 cents on the dollar. Like, here comes the stick portion of the show. So I can see a couple scenarios. I think that given what we went through in the COVID years and in the aftermath of that, with the psychological profiling and traumatization that they did, I think they learned quite a bit about
data gathering,
where they made mistakes and where they could improve, and where they were too heavy-handed in some things, and where they have to allow things to happen, and they oversold it. Bill de Blasio with a cheeseburger, get your vaccine, and you're like, what is this? So there's my biggest fear for Americans in America that have to worry about an issue impacting them day to day would be the banking, more so than a war. An expanded war in the Middle East. That will be problematic for the people in the Middle East. It'll be expensive for all Americans. It'll show itself in the form of inflation and things like that. But you'll still get up in the morning and the sun will be shining and you'll go to work, right? So I think that the one that impacts us the most is the banking. And unfortunately, it's tough to know what to do to prevent yourself from getting walloped by that, right? If you recognize it now and you go down to your local bank, on Monday morning and say, I would like to withdraw all of my money in cash. They will look at you like you are insane. They won't do it. They'll ask you a million hell, tell them you want to take $10,000 out in cash. They'll
Yeah.
ask you a million questions
Yeah.
about that. They'll tell you they don't have it. They'll say they could order it for you and it'll be there in a couple of weeks. I mean, you'll immediately start to feel like you have done something wrong by asking them for the money. So if you are aware of this now, I would say plan accordingly. I would say get your money to a level where you're just sort of there with your monthly churn and you've got enough to cover this and that and your bills are taken care of. But I would not leave excess
How
money.
about contact Tony Arterburn at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver and get a lot of precious metals as soon as possible. Tony's a mutual friend of ours, and
Yeah.
I'd like to have him on the show soon. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because you're talking about what we can do. And it's kind of funny. You're just saying be prepared, get some precious metals, don't leave a lot of cash sitting in the banks. How can you not get walloped? But one of our reels on Instagram kind of took off not that long ago, and some of the comments were coming in. I was pretty mad. I was pretty mad about the cannibal cabal. I was pretty mad that we just an attack on Iran, and already the amount of people talking about abused children goes way, way down. It's just like, how easy is it for them to distract? But in the comments, I got accused of rage baiting. Like, hey, well, Geisinger, you're sitting there, talking behind the desk. What are you going to do? You're just rage baiting everybody. And I'm like, well, no, not actually. I want everybody to keep talking about it, not get weary. Don't let them forget. Don't let them distract us this easily. And then I had a 50-acre homestead at one time until my divorce. And I'm in contact with 3 people that have homesteads now. Even if I can't do it, I want to be able to help them with their cows, help them with their garden. I have a lot of experience because a lot of people out there can't just go buy a 50-acre homestead like I had, and I can't now either. So I got to just, through association, say what you were just saying. Prepare, get some metals, but beyond that, I mean, Charlie, we're not. Why are we here today, Geisinger Unfiltered audience? We're not trying to rage bait you, but how does the revolution happen? This octopus has such control. What are you doing this for, Charlie? What difference are you trying to make? What am I trying to do?
It's funny you say that because the entire book, my first book, which then later turned into podcasts and owning Activist Post and all this stuff, it came out of that exact same question. In 2015, I had discovered some brand new conspiracy and I was explaining it to her, and she was always a very good sport about it. And she said, this is really fascinating. It's interesting stuff. And you know about all these different things. What are you going to do about it with it? And I was like, I don't know. Do I have to do something with it? Like, I just was a passive consumer of it. And then I thought, oh, well, maybe I have a role in this. And if I do have a role, how would I do that? Would I make a documentary? I'd love to make a documentary, but I don't really know how to do that. So I thought, you know what I'll do? I'll write a book, and then that way I know I've done something, right? I'll write it and I'll lay it out in a way that I think is logical. 700 quotes from 500 different people that had a front row seat to some of the most important events in our history. And I'll let them tell it. Man, my voice is in the book, but let's hear it from them. I want you to read, if my family and I have been accused by everyone of being internationalists, that we're conspiring to create a world government and that we are, stifling competition. If these are the charges, I stand guilty and proud of it. And it's like David Rockefeller, page 405, autobiography. You're like, oh my God, like he said that? Like I thought that, but he really said that? Yeah. They talk about this stuff openly, all over the place, all the time. And also in classified memos that eventually 50 years later get declassified, and you see the rantings of these people. And so I answered that question that my mother asked, which was, I decided I'll write this book. And I kept it a total secret, but the reasoning changed. So the first half of writing the book, I didn't tell anybody because I didn't really want to be on the hook for it. hey man, how's that book coming that you're writing? I never finished it.
Yeah.
And, because it's easy to kind of do. So I was like, just knowing me and I'm just going to be quiet. I'm going to write it. I'll see how I feel. If I feel like I'm good, I'm good. I get about halfway through and I knew I was onto something. I mean, I was cooking.
Ahead of your time.
And I decided now I don't want to tell anybody because I don't want anybody to stop me. Because I knew all of the reasons why I shouldn't be involving myself in this. You don't know what you're doing. Have you ever written a book before? Are you an author? Are you a journalist? Did you go to author school? Do you don't have a particular specialty in this. What are you going to do? Are you going to get it published? Who the hell is going to publish this book? This book is unpublishable. Like you get into it with our favorite ally in the Middle East in 2 full chapters. Like there's no way anybody's going to publish this book. And how are you going to sell it? Who's going to you going to promote it? Are you going to get on coast to coast? So
yeah,
like,
a lot of people say don't tell people your goals because they will find reasons to talk you out of it. But you did it anyway. And are you suggesting that everybody frustrated out there should write their own book? What about the homesteading? We're talking about metals, but bottom line, what would you tell if you had a group of 100 people in a room and they'd say, "Okay, Charlie, what are we supposed to do about this?" What would you say?
Some people, well, I'll tell you what, I was at Anarchapulco, Anarchapulco, the largest anarchist conference in the world, the 12th annual Anarchapulco. I'm the MC of that event, the 5-day event. I get to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
I've never spent so much time with farmers as I have at Anarchapulco. Curtis Stone, off-grid Curtis Stone, he's a homesteader in Canada, runs Freedom Farmers. If you're somebody, you had a 50-acre homestead and you said you don't have one now, well, you can go to Freedom Farmers. You can talk to that network of people, and you can find somebody in your area who's like, "I'll go in on one with you."
Yep, absolutely.
And then we've got lined up, and then the financing's lined up and stuff like that. So you know what we're all about, it turns out, is solutions. You're not a rage baiter if you also offer them solutions to the problems that you're rightly seeing. So I bought a company called Activist Post, which is an independent news website, and we rebuilt the website for it, and I put it in 8 different categories. But one of the categories is solutions. Because if we're just screaming about this, it's only part of people are going to get angry and motivated and aware, but then we have to channel their energy, or else Q happens and they get told to trust the plan and sit in the corner and suck their thumb. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So if you don't give them like, I'm pissed, I'm motivated, I'm ready to change my life, how? That's where you've got to go with it, right? You've got to say, talk to this guy, talk to this group, recognize the relationship you have with your banks. Maybe make some moves in accordance of that. You need residency in a foreign country? This company here can help you how to do that. They have the lawyers. They'll walk you through that. They'll do it for you.
How about picture the lights, the electricity going off where you live for 2 weeks? Do you want to be there? Can you imagine Chicago? Can you imagine Baltimore, St. Louis with no power for 2 weeks? If you are living in some place where if the power went out for 2 weeks and you don't want, then get out. I don't care what you have to do. Put the little bandana on a stick behind you and get out of here. You talked about talking to people and everything. I've never asked a guest this before, trusting voices. It's almost like as soon as I start to like somebody online, oh my gosh, the stuff that comes about, the slander they'll do. Candace Owens, Alex Jones, Ian Carroll, Tucker Carlson. Those are some of the names that my gut tells me they're for real, that I can trust them. But how do we gauge that? Like, I don't know if you want to address some of those individually but like those are 4 names. It's like, I'd be really disappointed, Charlie, if one of those 4 wasn't legit. But hey, they're slandered all the time.
Yeah. Well, look, my feeling is that if Alex Jones or Candace Owens or Ian Carroll get you to the party, great. Whoever drove you to the party, great. You're now here. Listen to what they're talking about. See if it connects with you. they're also elevated to massive stages, right? So you have to ask, is that talent? They're all certainly talented. They know what
Very.
they're talking. They're good on camera. They're
Yes.
can't deny that. Are they influenced financially? Alex for sure is influenced financially. We know that. I mean, he's influenced because they've got the lawsuit against him. I mean, they can,
If I could interject, my engineer Carter, who's just sitting 10 feet over that way, actually worked with Alex Jones and was in the room during that lawsuit where he would rant off camera about what was happening to his finances. And believe me, you are hitting the target exactly. He was not happy. But go ahead. Go ahead.
By the way, I must say this. Every person who I've met who works or worked at InfoWars really like them. Like I really like good dudes.
David Knight, it's funny. I emceed conferences before too, my friend. I don't know if it's our baldness or our talkative nature, but I've got roped into. But David Knight was at a conference in Branson that I did one time, and everybody had great things to say. On those individual voices, it's like, is there some point between Charlie Robinson and Darren Geisinger level and Ian Carroll, Tucker Carlson level, where the men in black actually show up at the house and say, ooh, you're getting a little too much following here. Why don't we sit down and talk? And something happens?
Yeah, but Putin made a comment about this as well. He said, they're talking about how do you feel dealing with Trump? And he says, I've dealt with a lot of presidents over the years. These presidents in America, they come in with their ideas and then they get visited by the men in black suits and then those ideas go away. And I think everybody thinks that, oh yeah, the CIA comes in there.
Higher than that?
I think it's the guys with the black hats as well. The Chabad.
Yes.
I think that's who comes in and has a little talk and then all those ideas go out the window. And I think that if you rise to a level of an Alex Jones or you get someone has the talk with you.
Oh, geez. Dan Bongino, for heaven's sakes. He was probably almost as good-hearted and as real as you and me were before he went into the chipper shredder and came back out the other side. Now I wouldn't trust a single word that guy says. It's like, Dan, you're still on the air. Get off the air. Go hide somewhere. Whatever you heard on the inside, whatever they said to you, the men, God bless you, I wouldn't want to hear it because I bet they scared the crap out of that guy, and he's never going to be Dan Bongino again, right? I mean, like, we don't need to spend. Why don't you just give your closing thought on that? Because I have so much more for us to get to. But go ahead, tell me about Dan and what he must have seen on the inside.
Yeah, as they say, he saw the Kennedy assassination from a different angle, right? They showed him the film, and they said, "Any questions?" Yeah, I think that you get to that position of power. You may be well-intentioned, good-hearted, going in there to right these wrongs, and you have to make a calculation. Like, do you want to live another day? Do you want, it's a Polaroid picture of your kid sleeping, and you go, oh, okay, all right, I get it. I mean, I can't fault those guys for making a calculation to protect their family and themselves. And it is very easy for them to get threatened. It's as simple as a guy pulling you aside and say, we'll kill your entire family. Do you think I'm bluffing? Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. Are you willing to take that risk considering the fact that if I'm close enough to get in Dan Bongino's ear, I'm probably close enough to make bad things happen, right? So somebody who pulls him aside and says something like that to him. But if I know that, then he knows that before he goes into politics, right? So I also say, if you're Kash Patel or you're Dan Bongino and you say, oh, I'm going to go walk into that, dude, you knew the job was dangerous when you took it. I don't want to hear they threaten my family. I mean, of course, they're going to threaten your family. Like, if you're going to be the director of the FBI, you're in there because you are controllable. You're no Boy Scout in there looking to do anything. I mean, it was run by J. Edgar Hoover forever. And that guy was a cross-dressing maniac who had the goods on everybody, and everybody had the goods on him. Mutually assured destruction. That's what they want. The head of the FBI is not going to be some good cop. It's a theatrical position, mostly ceremonial, and if you get on the wrong side of them, they'll throw you out a window.
And what I often think of as the men throwing people out the window is exactly what you were talking about, because that's an actual person too who's instructed to go into that room and throw that dude out the window. Well, they have the goods on that assassin too, and they must be like, hey, if you're even thinking about your conscience, it's either you throw that guy out the window or we do that to you, because you know that's what we do. But how, at some point, and I think we're going to get into this in Geisinger Unfiltered Pro a little bit more, about revolution, about anger, about, how you've heard the term, we're not angry enough. At what point do these groups of assassins and those carrying out the Octopus's control look at each other in their barracks or in the room and go, hey, we have to I can't go and just start killing innocent Americans because Charlie Robinson has this opinion, or Darren Geisinger is ranting about the cannibal cabal. I'm not going to kill them. Okay. Well, what, and they start having this conversation amongst themselves. Well, how do we get out of this? Because they're going to kill our family. I mean, how does this factor into the end of empire?
I think everybody's got to make a calculation at some point here. Do you want to, do you want to be the stormtroopers? The police have to understand they're one bounce paycheck away from switching sides. Their paycheck stops coming from the state because they've given all their money away to people that have come in from other countries, and we just don't have enough money for policing. And at some point they go, we're just paid enforcement arm. Why don't we switch sides? There may be another side that's willing to pay them more. I don't know. You would think that the revelations from the Epstein files would be enough to start a revolution. You would think that, but maybe it's the fluoride, maybe it's the television, maybe
chemtrails.
It's
the chemtrails are saying
maybe it's everything,
us.
man. Maybe it's just a confluence of a ton of distractions and chemical sedatives that have just made everybody very docile and controllable and wearing pajamas to the airport, you know what I mean? And just giving up.
Interesting.
And those people aren't going to revolt. Those people are going to be needing universal basic income.
Okay, we're going to cover that more in Geisinger Unfiltered Pro in a second. So let's wrap this up. When we go over to Pro, some of the things we're going to cover is that which we cannot talk about on here, the synagogue, right? How bizarre is it that the Hitler, the guy, his reputation is actually improving. Why? What is happening online with his resurgence? We'll get into that only on Pro, because certainly knows we cannot talk about that here. But chiefly for Charlie, what I'm going to talk to Charlie Robinson about over in Geisinger Unfiltered Pro is like Fauci, the Clintons, Gates, Podesta, they're all still walking around free. Like the man just said, isn't the stuff in the Epstein files enough to cause revolution? We're watching these people walking around free. Ghislaine probably was in Canada getting pastries, or Epstein is in Israel now. These people are doing what they want, when they want. Podesta's walking around free. You guys, and now you know about the Epstein files. What is it going to do? What would it look like if we stopped paying taxes? If we did shopping boycotting, spending boycotting, stop going to work? What if they tried to do a draft? I'm going to ask Charlie these questions on GeisingerUnfiltered.com. Become a Pro member. After the logo spins, just to hear about our sponsor, Our Freedom Begins Now. It's something you can actually do to get vital things coming to your house. Supplies like antibiotic and hormone-free beef coming to your house, non-toxic cleaners, all that. Just stay after the logo for our sponsor, because we can't take time for that today. After you're done with that, come over to Geisinger Unfiltered Pro. We're going to join Charlie there. And again, just to finish up here, thank you, Charlie, for coming on. Let me make sure I don't mess this up. Macroaggressions.io is a website. They can see all your different shows. And also get his book, The Octopus of Global Control, on Amazon. So, Charlie, as we close out here before we go on Pro, what is your closing statement here? How would you wrap up what we've talked about so far? What are the people out there? What do they need to know?
Nothing to fear. Be solutions-oriented. Take advantage of this relatively calm period right now to make some moves in advance. Shore up your banking situation. Get some gold. Get some silver. get some bullets, whatever. Start to think in a proactive manner. In doing that alone, it puts you in a different mindset and makes it so that the situation that you're once dreading, actually, the more you're prepared for it, the further away it seems to be from winding up coming true. So take advantage of this time to do the things that you know you need to do now. You're going to wish you could get in your DeLorean and go back to this moment right now and do some of them. So think into the future and take advantage of the present.
Okay, proactive instead of reactive. Thank you, Charlie, for being on the regular episode. We're going to go over to GeisingerUnfiltered.com to pro and finish this conversation. Okay, so people have been asking me to go into a little bit more detail about this ourfreedombeginsnow.com. It's the best decision you can make. It's a rock solid step that you can take, especially if you're frustrated with big ag, big pharma, big box stores. You don't want Vanguard and BlackRock getting your money. You don't want to be spending your money on toxic, almost all water, huge plastic jugs at the wall box stores when you can get stuff delivered right to your home that you are buying anyway. I am not telling you to increase your budget one bit for ourfreedombeginsnow.com. This is an American company. They've been around for 40 years, and they are ultra trustworthy. This is a few things that I get in my home right now. I didn't bring my toilet bowl cleaner, and I probably didn't bring 10 to 20 things, but this is one of the standouts. I have 3 different cleaners, one for glass, one for surfaces, but it's 12x. It comes concentrated 12 times in this little bottle, right? Then they give you an empty bottle with the sprayer on it, empty, so that you can put your own good water in at home, and you put a 12th of this in there and you add your own water. Genius. It is worth it, people, to sign up for ourfreedombeginsnow.com, getting this to your home just for the non-toxic American-made cleaners that are concentrated. You get 12 of these out of this. Enough said. Go to ourfreedombeginsnow.com and get it just for the cleaners. Of course, I get organic breakfast blend coffee. Smells amazing. I grind it. It's awesome. I have my hand cleaners. This is the best vitamins that you can buy. I'm going to say that again in the microphone. The Peak Performance vitamins are the best vitamins that you can possibly buy. And it's so convenient the way they have them packaged. You have a AM and a PM packet. You just tear these off and you take your AM in the AM and your PM in the PM. Doesn't get any easier than that. So let me, without further ado, go on to this giant box you see. It says Riverbend Ranch on it. Glitchies in the shadows. Let me dig something out. This bag here is what they ship the dry ice in. So this is covered in dry ice. Hear this? Feel this? This huge foam is all around the interior. Huge foam all around the interior. So look at this. I was on the ribeye pack for the longest time. Comes with ribeyes, awesome ribeyes. Best steak I've ever had, and I grew up on a farm. Hamburger, you got your steak strips. You can get on the filet mignon package. You can put porterhouse in there. You can get them every month, every couple months. You select. But look at this packaging. It's foam all the way through the inside. This thick foam covers the whole inside right here. And it's covered in dry ice. The steaks. Get the steaks. Okay, so that's just some of it. There's a full men's line with aluminum-free deodorant, right? You have natural deodorant for women. There's all this makeup, see Bella or something, and it's all the best makeup. It's all made in America, except for one eyeliner. I think it's made in Italy or something. So out of their hundreds and hundreds of products, there's one thing made somewhere else besides America, and that's an eyeliner in Italy. Go figure. It's amazing. So you've got colognes, you've got perfume, you got everything that you need for the house, the bathroom, the kitchen. Again, this is stuff you guys are buying anyway. We're not asking you to increase your budget. It helps the show. It helps you get vital supplies, get necessities coming to your house, put your own good water in it, and get 12 uses. 12 of these out of one little bottle. Do this for yourself. Do this for your friends. It's a tremendous opportunity. They're tremendous natural products. Go to ourfreedombeginsnow.com ourfreedombeginsnow.com. Ourfreedombeginsnow.com. Put in your info. Somebody's going to reach out to you and get you set up. Thank you so much.